What if everything you've been seeking, sovereignty, truth, freedom, a new earth, already has a foundation? And what if that foundation is sound money? Welcome to Be the Light. I'm your host, Steven, and let's build the bridge from sound money to a sovereign soul. Okay, welcome to episode 2. This one I'm titling The Bridge because I hope to explain why I'm building this bridge, what I'm seeing, and the connection between the two worlds. Now, fortunately, I had just attended 2 conferences. One was actually called the New Living Expo. This was in April, and that is kind of where I was recognized really this desire to usher us into a new earth, to ascend as humanity. And that's where I noticed the missing link. Just last week, I attended a Bitcoin conference. That makes sense. They are actually they're trying to improve the world. Most people are actually conscious beings. And so, what their efforts actually seem like they can happen, right? That they can manifest. The spiritual fair seemed like they can manifest, but it did feel like there's the missing link. So I actually had the program for the New Living Expo, and I was just thumbing through that, thinking about like why I want to do this podcast and why I want to try to build this bridge. Just looking for clues. And I found like under descriptions of lectures, under founder of this expo, um, it's called the Portal to Ascension. And there is kind of a mission statement underneath there. And when I'm reading all this stuff, I'm just going, light bulbs are firing off, going like, oh my gosh, they're talking about a world that has sound money. If we want the sovereign soul, we want the liberated individual, then we have to have it built off a foundation of sound money. So, my idea for this episode was to just go through some of the terminology, some of the phrases that are being used in this New Living Expo, and kind of put them in the Bitcoin terminology world, show the connection between these two. So basically, that's what this episode is, really a brief overview, run through of the connection between the two. And so let's dive into the New Living Expo program, some of the things I pulled out. The first is on the page that explains that this expo is being taken over by a group called the Portal to Ascension. This is the new founder, and he's taking this off into a new direction. But in here, he has at a portal to ascension, we shine light on, and then he lists several things. Some of them don't match up, but 3 out of the 6 really do. Okay, the first was the release and integration of advanced conscious technologies. Okay, we all know things are changing very fast. AI is coming very fast. Now, Bitcoin definitely falls into the description of a conscious technology. I mean, if we ask what conscious is, it's really thinking things all the way through. It tends to come from a higher dimension and not just physical experiences of the past, not necessarily from the senses. And I mean, Bitcoin couldn't fit that any better. It's not of the senses. And that is one of the biggest gripes from many people who are skeptical of it, is that they cannot hold it, right? And in the spiritual world, I think we're pretty accustomed to believing in things that we cannot hold. manifestations, auras, entities, channeling. There's so many things that the spiritual community works on that they cannot see. Okay, so most of humanity is not that comfortable with this, and that's why I feel like the spiritual community is absolutely ready for something that they cannot see. So conscious to me is really thinking like, what are the effects? Okay, how can this impact humanity after 20 years of it playing out? Now, I don't think consciously we invented the dollar. Maybe, maybe the beginning it was, but we had to see the flaws in it, that it wasn't, if it's not connected to anything real, then it can go awry, which basically it has at this point. Once they took it off the gold standard, it's party time for those that can add more dollars to the system. Okay, so the next is, this one is like huge: transparency in business, governance, and global economic systems. I'm going to be going into this deeper, but the economic system, economics is a transfer of energy between agreeable humans. This whole system works together as one, but only when there is transparency. And Bitcoin has complete transparency, and that is why it offers and is described as trustless. If you think about a ledger, which is really what money truly is, it's just a ledger. It's a list of who exchanged what with who. Then you would want something that you can see everything, all the transactions. Like, it would be great for me to know where my $250 in taxes I paid last week, where that actually went. Like right now, they are finding tremendous amounts of fraud in California in the senior care, and these facilities that are just fronts to get money from the state. And so that is a major problem when there's no transparency of where your money goes. Bitcoin would allow, the blockchain specifically would allow us to follow pretty much like every dollar and where it ends up, which would be great for the taxpayer. Okay, so let's go on to another one: expanding beyond the limitations of third dimensional perception. This is the rabbit hole, the 3D that we are in currently and want to ascend from. Now, in order to be in both worlds, to divide heaven and earth, we do have to be connected and rooted, right? If the body divides heaven and earth, that's what they say in qigong, tai chi, um, that the body divides heaven and earth. We have to remain rooted, and you can't go too ethereal, or you're going to lose your humanity. It has to basically be tethered to earth. And you cannot create a non-physical currency and not have it tethered to the physical, the third dimensional world. This is one of the amazing features that Bitcoin has, and it's called proof of work. If somebody wanted to just create a coin out of thin air, if I just wanted to create Steve coin, and I pulled it up on my computer and I offered it to the world. Now let's say everybody buys them and they're worth $5 a piece. And because there's no connection, there's nothing I really have to do other than hit some buttons, and I create double the amount of the Steve coin. That is going to be a supply shock, and everybody's $5 Steve coin is going to go down to $3 or whatever. It'll lose value the more I add. So that's been the issue with a lot of the attempts at creating a cashless system that can be used over the internet, or in this virtual world. So Bitcoin's proof of work technology tethers it to the physical world. So you basically have to you have to utilize energy. You can't get Bitcoin. You can't mine Bitcoin for free. You can't make them for free. You have to run computers. It takes computer power, which is electricity, which is your pocket, right? Somebody has to pay for that. So you have to, it's almost like a postage stamp, right? It's simple as that. Like if we just were able to send mail without having to put a little bit into it, it would be a mess. So because I have to go spend a little bit on the stamp and add that to it, then I'm able to send it. That's why when things have no oversight and nothing tethered, there's scams all over. Anybody can create an account and fake, you know, try to scam you because it doesn't cost them anything. Bitcoin is tethered to the physical world. This virtual coin is tethered by this technology called proof of work. And that is basically, like I said, electricity, energy that needs to be used in order to create the coins. Another one, aligned growth in a conscious economy. Again, conscious being thinking the whole thing through in order to live in this, take lead us into this world. We have to have a serious solid foundation of sound money, because if you think about money all the way through, it really is the cause of many of the symptoms that we're facing on planet Earth right now. War being one of them. That's like main symptom. You can't have war unless you have a currency that you can print out of thin air. Utilizing Bitcoin would actually put the power back into the people, and we would have the decision if we want to go to war or not. It is a currency of peace. And I know that that is what everybody in the spiritual community is looking for. Another one said connection between money and relationships to cultivate abundance. Connection between money. Like we basically, if you want to measure your relationship, you got to know if the person's being honest. And so, like, measuring our relationship with the money, it's not being honest, it's cheating on us. So, I think whether we know that, like, are completely aware of that or not, there are many symptoms that come from getting the sense that something's not right. Right? This is what creates this hand to mouth existence. We earn, we spend. I mean, I was just in Vegas. I see it. People are at the slot machines. I I don't know where they're getting this money from, but I imagine it's they don't have much, right? And they're just, you know what? Live it up, have fun. Because it's like holding an ice cube. It's melting right before our faces. So, let's use the ice cube. That's kind of what the dollar is causing humanity to do. Create cheap things, stamped out stuff, throwaway stuff. There's In Bitcoin, there's a term called low time preference and high time preference. We are in a high time preference world right now. Get something, we get it, we want it, we buy it, and there's no saving for the long term. There's no whittling a piece of wood into a chair anymore. There's not good furniture. We're not making good furniture. We just don't have the long term view like Van Gogh took forever to make one painting. We're cranking out paintings with like a banana taped to the wall right now. This is all a cause of having a fiat currency that is being inflated. It causes a high time preference. So, okay, let's move on. Essential for navigating chaotic times. Okay, to me, Bitcoin is the lifeboat. If you're navigating chaotic times, we need to be anchored. We are There's no foundation. We are on a collision. We are on a collision course for this major collapse and major depression and disruption to humanity because of what some are doing with our dollar. So, Bitcoin roots us. It allows us to have the solid foundation. I'm on a construction site right now, and I watch when they pour concrete. I'm an electrician, and I watch when they pour concrete. The amount of rebar that goes into stabilizing and strengthening the foundation is unbelievable. I believe it's like increasing because I remember when I first got in, I don't recall that much rebar in the concrete, but whatever. It's still making this mesh in the concrete that's going to hold it strong so then we can build something on it that lasts. You don't want the you don't want just to pour straight concrete and then patch it. That's kind of what we're doing. Or you look at the roads, they just throw these patches on there and it doesn't last. So in order to navigate chaotic times, we need to be rooted. It's the same thing we say spiritually. Work on your nervous system. Stay rooted, stand like a mountain and move like a river, right? We should be able to handle these chaotic winds as long as we're rooted in our meditation practice, rooted in God, rooted in something bigger than our external world. But if we want that, we want to be the change we wish to see. Obviously, we're changing ourselves and we do wish to see this in the physical world, but we cannot with a broken money. It's just impossible. So let's see. Understand. Okay. This last one says, understand the total God power you have. Total God power would be complete self sovereignty. I wouldn't rely on anything else but my own abilities. And with money, we rely on the banks. We rely on Visa. We rely on MasterCard. We rely on Stripe. Was it Stripe? Any one of these operating systems where that accepts cash for a credit card that takes a fee every time you want to use a credit card. We have to store our money in banks. We have to give it, and then if you want to go get out 10 grand, you have to beg and plead. I don't do that often, but I have, like, to buy a car one time. And they're like, "What do you want your money for?" Like, do I really need to tell? Well, why do I need to tell you? It's my freaking money. So Bitcoin, you can actually store $1 million in your head, right? You have a cold storage wallet, and you have keys to this wallet that store in your head, right? You can memorize. I wouldn't dare do that because I just don't trust my own memory. But you can memorize this. And let's say you wanted to travel to China or something with $3 million in your head. You can go do that. No one's going to stop you. Try going to the airport with $3 million in cash or gold, whatever. You're gonna get pulled over. They're gonna say, "Come over to the side. What do you have all this money for? Where is it from?" You had to prove everything, or transfer. Even transferring money to somebody in a large amount, it's gonna take a long time. Bitcoin, I could transfer straight from me straight to you. let's say you're selling your essential oils or your book, or I'm trying to think, your scarf, your little jewelry that you made, the crystals that you made, or maybe you found and then made necklaces out of any one of these little booths that I ran into at the spiritual fair, and they're all taking cash. No one's accepting Bitcoin. I could just transfer my Bitcoin straight to you. This is a peer to peer cash system. We don't need the banks. This is exactly why we're having so much FUD, it's called, fear, uncertainty, and doubt spread throughout news, television, wherever you get your information from. You probably heard tremendous amounts of this FUD about Bitcoin. And specifically, this is another specifically designed feature. They lump it all into one and call it crypto. And the difference is there's Bitcoin and there's crypto. Bitcoin is decentralized. There's no there's a creator, but there's no owner. There's no CEO, there's no office building. This is ran by the people who run nodes that run the open source protocol that it runs on. Last but not least, it's capped at 21 million. You can't make more. The rest of the cryptos that are out there have an owner, have a creator, have a offices, have staff. Many of these coins are created, and it's basically creating the dollar all over again because they can just create more. So they falter, and then you hear in the headlines about people getting scammed and stuff like that, rug pulled, completely wiped out their investments. So then the news lumps it together on purpose. So you go, oh, that stuff's a Ponzi scheme. It's a scam. So and so, Sam Bankman Fried, this person did this person did that. It's, it's very, very specifically designed because if you can go around the banks, we can avoid Visa, MasterCard, the dollar. Like, you think they're not going to do everything they can to stop this? So, those are just a couple things that, I mean, there were so many in there, but they're just a couple things that I saw that matched this world that the spiritual community desires to usher us into this new earth. And I can't emphasize enough. I'm actually on here laboring doing this podcast. I mean, I love it, but the technical aspect of it is very difficult for me to get episodes out and stuff like that. This has been very difficult, and this is only episode 2. So if I don't figure this out, it's going to be very hard for me to continue. After reading this, I can see it. They're calling for it already. The terminology they're using is already clearly defining what Bitcoin is. And so, coming to a close here, we're going to break down and go into so many more of these similarities between the two. And re- I really hope that this reaches the spiritual community. I think Bitcoiners are going to like follow and understand and go and know this, but I think it's going to be difficult for it to reach the spiritual community. And that is my real hope. And so, even if I have to go to the new Living Expo next time and spread the good word, I'll do it because it needs to be done because I want to move to this new earth. I can already sense it, but I see the flaw and I see the hope too. So, thanks again for listening, for watching. I am on YouTube now. It's called just the B as in Bitcoin, Be the Light. And you can watch the video on there, on Spotify and iTunes. It's been very difficult for me to figure that out. So, this is episode 2, the second time of doing this. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.